Hi, welcome to Integrative Lawyers of the World. I'm your host, Carrie Raleigh. Our guest this week is Silvina Matisic. Silvina is an Argentinian lawyer based in Buenos Aires. She is a mom of 2 boys. She has been working as a corporate counsel for the last 10 years in the health industry, and she is co-founder of the Latin American Organization for Collaborative Law. And she joins lawyers all around Latin America to spread out the word about the benefits of the collaborative law practice. Besides that, she is really interested in human relationships and has been working and developing new ways of advocating because she believes lawyers also need to change the way they work, which is something that we believe here at Integrative Lawyers of the World, and which is why we interview guests from all over the world who are practicing law in new ways. Thank you for joining us. And please remember to like, comment, or share this episode or any of our Integrative Lawyers of the World episodes. Hi, Silvina. How are you today?
Hi, Carrie. Good. I'm good. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I'm really happy to be here and ready to talk about integrative law.
Excellent. We are very happy that you are here. And I know I just want to personally thank you. Scheduling has been kind of crazy, and thank you so much for fitting us into your schedule. I think what you do and what integrative lawyers do all over the world is so important, and we'd like to share that, and I'm glad you're sharing it with us. Why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, yes. Well, as you told in the introduction, I'm based in Buenos Aires. I'm my wife. I'm a mom of 2. I've been working as a corporate counsel for the last 10 years. Besides that, I love studying, reading, practicing, training, and tennis. And well, I think that are skills that help you in your daily work. And that's a little bit about me, to be short in the
Okay,
words.
good. I'm sorry, you said you like reading and did you say reading and practicing and playing tennis?
Yes, yes. I
Ah,
haven't been playing because I got a little baby of 10 months. My second son is 10 months.
oh wow.
So I couldn't be playing that much right now. I
Yeah.
just train or I do some biking around here my house. So I love training.
I just asked because I wasn't sure if I heard you correctly, but I'm thinking a mom of 10 months. I'm thinking you have how old's your other son, your older son?
5.
So,
The biggest one is 5 and
uh,
the little one is 10 months.
yeah, so I'm thinking you get a lot of exercise just watching, keeping your eye on them, let alone in addition to your biking and cycling and
Yes.
everything else.
Yeah. Yes. I do. I work and I'm on my spare time when I can I train and then I pass time with my kids because I love being with them too.
Yeah, very nice. Well, and congratulations on being a
Thank
new
you.
mom, 10 months over. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
So how was it? Were you able to take some time off when your children were born? Does Buenos Aires have family leave?
Yes, we have family leave. You have 3 months with paid leave, and then you can choose an option of being 3 more months, but you are not paid. So
Oh,
depends on your
okay.
economic situation. You go back to work or you do not. Now some companies are implementing more paid leave for moms, and they are
Okay.
trying to do a good balance for women that want to be moms. That, as you know, maybe it's not that easy to combine being a work mom with family time.
Yeah. Now the initial 3 months of paid leave, is that provided by the employer or by the government?
By the government.
By the government. So does everyone get the same amount regardless of what their occupation or what their occupational pay is?
Yes. Everyone. It's a it's a right for all moms to have 3 months paid leave.
Wow, that's nice. No, the US does not have paid leave. They have
No,
a,
I know that.
yeah, it's crazy. Some employers provide it, or some Insurance policies actually considered it a short-term disability, so they get benefits under a short-term disability, which to me
shouldn't be a disability. Should be like more. Should be more. How do you say? Employers and governments should provide more rights for women in order
yeah,
to get into workforce and not having to leave workforce for big moms.
yeah,
It's we have at least women all around the world have to work more solidly and together to to move forward to getting more rights
mm, yeah,
over that situation, because what happens around the world and in Argentina, you got like big numbers that women, when they want to be mothers or they have babies, they need to leave workforce. They really cannot combine it because sometimes employments and some companies are too demanding and they don't make a good like work-life balance.
yeah.
So it's really stressful
I can
for
imagine.
some moms. Yes, and when you
Yeah,
don't have like help from your family, or you cannot afford for a daycare, or you don't, you well here in Buenos Aires, it's very common maybe to hire someone to take your kids after when you work. So it's not easy for many
yeah.
moms. Maybe
I
here we have some benefits for that in Argentina, but I know that in worldwide that's not very common.
yeah, yeah. And I certainly like how you describe it. It's a right and an honor, to
Hmm.
um not just it's a right and an honor to the individual parents, but it's also a right and an honor for society. Bringing in a child is a gift to all of humanity. That's just my
Yes,
personal
that's
opinion
true.
on
Yeah,
that.
I think
How was it for you how is it for you managing being a mom and a lawyer?
how well I just being a mom uh, brought me a lot of new abilities and skills that uh, probably may probably before I didn't was aware I had them,
Oh,
like being more compassionate, being more flexible, being more patient, trying to bring like to ground technical skills, technical learnings to make my at least my kid of 5 to understand. And then you realize that when you are working and you're working with people that don't know about law and they don't know about their rights, uh, or you have to discuss a contract, you have to train someone to negotiate a contract, you apply those abilities to your daily work.
wow. Huh.
uh,
Yeah.
so makes you more, how can I say, more sensible, more human, brings your more human side to every daily activity you perform.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you cannot separate being mom, being a lawyer. It confluences everything together. You are just one person and you have to be authentic.
All parts of you are integrated into one whole, which is one of the premises of
I
integrative
try,
lawyers,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yes. And I like this new way of being myself. That's
Yeah.
where I recognize myself like an integrative lawyer and more like philosophy of working and living.
Mm.
I think that's great.
How interesting and wonderful to add compassion as one of the skills that you think you learned from raising kids and now incorporating it into your practice of law. Because many people probably don't think, oh, what skills does it take to be a lawyer? Being compassionate is probably not on most people's list, but I think how you explained it, yes, it seems to be integral in your role as a lawyer because you're working with other human beings and you're teaching regardless of what role you have as a lawyer, corporate lawyer, litigator, criminal, civil, business, whatever, you're coming in contact with other people.
Yes, that's true.
What attracted you to the practice of law? Like why you wanted to be a lawyer, and what did you think being a lawyer was going to be like?
Okay, I have to go back on time, but actually, when I pick up to study law, to get into law school, uh, it was really not a conscious decision, actually, because when I finished high school or I was about to finish here in Argentina, it's very common you have to pick a career. I don't know what, but you have to pick one because you have to go to university. So uh, I went to different like schools and talks about different careers, and law seemed quite well. I thought it was I like maybe I had a misconception. I loved to study history and I loved literature and language, and I thought, okay, maybe laws can be something similar to that, but it
Mm-hmm.
was completely different, nothing compared to that. So after I went to school, and I think, okay, I will try law. So I started my career. Once I get into the career and I start studying and learning constitutional law, civil law, criminal law, labor law, international law, I realized it was uh, so many possibilities. It was so flexible. It was inexhaustible ways of developing your career that it fascinated me. It's like you are like all the time challenging yourself. You have to be learning all the time. You have to be one step forward because societies and changes, and now with technology, it's changing all the time, and you have
Yeah.
to be like mentally agile always, because if not you get back far behind.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah.
what really cultivated me, the ways you can develop a career, because you can study law but you can end up working like with different things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I ended up like
I
studying.
th I think I had a similar way of thinking about it too, or what I think it was after I was in the practice of law and I started really thinking, oh, I don't like it. I was going through a phase of, oh, I really don't like this. So I consciously stopped and saying, what is it that I do like about it? Because I felt like I didn't like the day-to-day
Yeah.
stuff. And when I stopped and said, okay, what is it that I do like about it? It was a lot of the things that you listed. I liked the constant learning. I was a commercial litigator in, a lot of it is overlap, but you have a new case with the new that's involving a different type of conflict. It involves learning of different, not just the legal aspects, but whatever subject matter is going on in that lawsuit, you have to learn that. And I really enjoyed that. And probably the strategic thinking on how you can help resolve the conflict.
I went to that phase too, that I didn't like law. When I worked for at the beginning, it was like only court, and I said, no, this couldn't be the only possibility. This can't be just the only way of working.
So you were a litigator too, where you went to court a lot and that was the primary focus?
That's what I imagine at the beginning, because when you're at school, in law school, that's the only thing they talk about. You have to be aggressive, you have to be assertive, you got to be litigator. They don't teach you the other possibilities. Beyond, I always read and knew that they were something more. When you are young, that's the only maybe the possibility you got to follow. So I went through that phase that I didn't like it and I wanted to quit. And then I thought that doing a master in another subject, I went into intellectual property, was a good way of making a stop in that way of working. And then I get into the corporate counsel life inside a company. So there's what I saw that there was another way of working. That's what I'm doing now. Right now, I'm more concentrated in contracts, helping to implement legal projects and negotiating, teaching skills about law to other departments.
Okay.
And I really like that.
Do you mind go through this a little bit? Because some lawyers, or I'm sure there are many lawyers out there who are dissatisfied or they don't like, they're dissatisfied with their practice. And it's probably, I'm guessing, maybe not your first couple years out of law school into the practice, because with me, I was so busy those first couple years of really working hard to be a good lawyer and the best that I could, that I didn't have time to think, do I like this or do I not like it? It probably didn't hit me the fullest until maybe like around year 5 or so, and I'm thinking, this isn't for me. So for others who may be out there who do not like the way that they're practicing law now, what are some things that you did after you had that feeling? You had mentioned, okay, I'm going to get more training in another area. And so did you actually go out and get your master's of intellectual property?
Yes, I did. Although I didn't work that much in intellectual property, but it was a good way of opening my mind that there are a lot of industries, there are a lot of other, how you say, areas of expertise you can develop. When I was facing that time that I really wanted to quit, I think that exploring, like for example, advising or not litigating or just concentrating in contracts or teaching or learning other skills like soft skills that lawyers do not develop that much, helps you to open your mind to think out of the box. So when you think out of the box, other opportunities come with it. So that's my advice maybe for other lawyers, to stop. It's very important to make a stop and think where you are and what connects you with law, if you want to quit or not, if you want to keep on working on that, or if you just want to make you want to still learning law, you love law, but you want to make a switch. And making a stop and making an overview of where you are, I think that's the big difference that can help you to keep on going.
That's very good advice.
When you are like overloaded with work and overloaded with activities, you cannot think. It's like nothing good comes out from that.
We are taking a brief break from this conversation to ask for your financial support. With each episode, we hope you can see how lawyers and peacemakers like you are contributing to the healing of the world. It takes many kinds of resources for the integrative law movement to keep going and affecting change. Your monetary donation can help us continue this important work by supporting the activities and the members of this community. Each contribution goes to promote the stability and accessibility of the movement and to support basic expenses like our Mighty Network group, web hosting, social media and event management, and this Integrative Lawyers of the World podcast. Because we like to give people choices, we have ongoing monthly options to match your budget, or you can make a one-time donation. Thanks to our non-profit corporate sponsor, the Renaissance Law Society, US supporters are able to make tax-deductible donations. Supporters from other countries, please check your local tax laws. For ways to support the integrative law movement and our world-changing work, go to our website at www.integrativelaw.com and click on Support the Movement tab at the top of the page. Another great way to support us is to rate us 5 stars and comment, like, follow or subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. These ratings and interactions help us get seen and heard by even more people to make an even stronger impact. Thank you for your support and spending time with us today. Enjoy the rest of this conversation.
How did you get your job being a corporate counsel or in-house counsel?
Just applying to to different jobs. I was
Okay.
rejected many times to many jobs because maybe I wasn't that qualified. I wasn't that legal profile they were searching for. I wasn't that that aggressive or that that detached from people. And once I applied to my first job it was a pharmaceutical company, and I met who was my boss, and he liked my way of being my true self. So that's the way I started my career in the in that company, and then I switched it to this one, to Fresenius Medical Care.
Very nice.
When I went to the interviews, I was really myself. I didn't try to be something I wasn't, and I think that makes the difference. Being a true self, that's why it's combined with being an integrative lawyer, being like yourself, your philosophy, your way of working, bringing some freshness, some other tool from tools from your kit. So I think that's made the difference. And okay, I'm a lawyer. I work as a lawyer. I'm technical. You have to be technical sometimes, but you also can be a team player. You can be friendly. You can be transparently. You can be ethical. You can be compassionate. You can be sensible. You can be a good negotiator. You can be everything as a lawyer. Doesn't mean, and I feel like I'm doing that right now.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing that you were rejected many times, because that's all I want to say. Awesome. I mean, because so many people, it's hard when you get those rejections, or sometimes you don't even get responses to applications or things, and it could be very demoralizing. And I think a lot of people, especially when you're trying to change your career or shift in a different direction, I think it's common for people to get rejections at first, and to know that it's okay. I got rejected. That's okay. And you stay true to yourself. And so now, when you're being your true self and you're finally at the place where someone recognizes and appreciates you being your true self, of course that job's going to be a good fit for you. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think right now, if I had to change work, or maybe I go to somewhere else to work for, I think I couldn't be in a place I cannot be myself. It's I think I cannot give the best of me. I have to be something I'm not.
Yeah, and that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
It's a horrible feeling and an exhausting feeling. If you're always having to try to be someone that you're not, that's very exhausting.
Well, but at the beginnings, for example, when I started working as a lawyer, you have to be something you're not. Like, for example, with the way of dressing. When you are just a newly lawyer, you think you have to use suits, high heels, nice purses. Your hair has to be all combed, and you have to use a lot of makeup, and you have to be aggressive, and you have to be a little bit too, like, arrogant, and so far away from that. Right now. But they used to ask for that. Like,
they
people
did.
Sometimes, or some lawyers at the beginning, when you get older, like, you realize you don't have to be like that. But at the beginning, I used all that customize.
Yeah, no, I did
all
too.
that costume, and And I like to wear sneakers, and I like to wear jeans, and I don't use that much makeup on my hair. It's like this curly,
Yeah.
and I think I work much better right now than I was before.
That's wonderful. And how wonderful for you to be at a place that recognizes that and that
Mm-hmm.
gives space for their employees to be true to themselves. Is there anything specific you'd like to share about your current work that you're doing or the company that you're with?
The company is right. Well, I don't know if everybody knows Fresenius Medical Care. Fresenius is dedicated to kidney care. They had a really nice purpose that is taking care of people that have kidney problems, and they get into dialysis. And I don't know if everybody knows, but dialysis is like it helps your kidney to work. So when your renal function doesn't work at all, and they got a nice purpose, like in the end, besides being a company and trying to be profitable, and they got stakeholders and all that, they try to make a future that it's worthwhile living.
Mm.
So that's why I like the company. Then I work technically, and I do contracts, and as I told you, I implement projects, and I'm in the daily legal advice for Argentina's operation for product and for services. But I think that's a big resume of what I do in the company.
On the lawyering side, some of it may be, contracts and the projects. You have to have that lawyer critical thinking and the technical skills, but you're also part of something that you are aligned and support the purpose of what they're doing. You're part of it. Your lawyering is part of a bigger purpose, and that bigger purpose is to help save lives by helping people with kidney failure or kidney disease. I would like to talk a little bit about collaborative law. And you're one of the co-founders of a collaborative organization in Latin America. Can you share a little bit about your collaborative law experience with us?
Yes. Well, I learned about collaborative law and practice through a very good friend of mine, Juan Pablo Neve. We got together like in 2019 for a coffee, and we started talking about daily stuff. And then he told me about this new way of practicing and this new way of being a lawyer, and it was really good developing in the States and in Europe. So he got my attention through those times. I don't even have it on the scope. So when I came back to my house, I started searching and learning, reading about collaborative practices. We started talking every week about it, and suddenly we realized that in Argentina there was nothing about similar, or no one was talking about collaborative practice, what it means, their principles, and that is a new way of advocating. And then I contact Kim. We talked like 2 hours that day. She told me about collaborative practice. She told me about conscious contracts, what she was doing, how she was spreading the word. And with Juan, we thought, okay, this is big. We start talking and writing and saying, okay, we can do this in Argentina, like bringing the collaborative practice here, or the collaborative law. And then we thought, okay, we must not be the only ones in Latin America. So through LinkedIn and social media, we start connecting with different colleagues, like in other countries. Like was a very work daily, like writing an email or an inbox through LinkedIn. And then we met with people from Brazil, Ana Luisa Ectalus. Then we met with someone from Colombia, and then with someone from Chile. And we start getting together every month to bring different experiences of different countries, and talking about also besides it doesn't, I don't have the word right now in my mind. Dispute resolutions, mediation, and how they solve conflicts in other countries, and suddenly the organization started to grow. It became from 4 we were like 10, and now right now we are like 20 or 30. And in the middle, we realized that we had to give the Organización Latinoamericana a name. So there we start with the brainstorming and organizing ourselves, like having monthly reunions and inviting people to keep talks. And suddenly we got the Organización Latinoamericana of Derecho Colaborativo, that it's dedicating spreading the word and education about this new way of working and philosophy and principles. So
for those who are not familiar with collaborative law, and many of our listeners probably are, but maybe we have someone listening who is new to this community. What is collaborative law?
The philosophy of collaborative practice or collaborative law, it's not litigating, it's trying to solve conflicts between the people that are part of that conflict, to be part of their solutions, bringing new professionals into their discussions, using negotiation, using friendly solutions, being aware of our emotions, of that conflict generates in us, and also
being aware of our emotions. It's our emotions even as the lawyers, not just the clients.
Yes, not only the parts, also the lawyers. And it's depends on where you practice it. It's resigning to go to court.
The model here practiced in the US, or at least that I'm familiar with, is that the lawyers and the clients agree that if the conflict is not resolved, the lawyers will not represent the clients in court.
In court, yes, that's what I wanted to say.
It brings everyone on the same page and everyone with the shared interest of resolving the conflict. And no one has anything to gain if the conflict is not resolved and it goes to court.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned it brings in different professionals as part of it. So a lot of people think, well, isn't that just the same as mediation? And have you ever gotten that question? Isn't this just the same as mediation?
Yes, I got that question, but no, at least not here. Mediation here, it's like it's a legal institution that it's mandatory before you get into court. But like mediation here doesn't work that much, because as it is mandatory, like it's like a pre-step into court. I think that the difference between collaborative law is that the lawyer decides not to go into court, will make its best effort to help its client to get a solution that is suitable for them. Of course, it does not work for every single case, but it's like it makes being part of it. It makes being this to decide over your solution. It makes, I'm talking like being a part now. The lawyer has to put everything of it, like to not technical skills. And that's the big difference. Mediation, at least here, I don't know, maybe in the States or in Europe or in other countries, it is a mandatory step that they don't give the importance it should have. It's like, okay, we have to go to the mediation, let's close it and let's go to court.
It's often like that here in the US. Sometimes it's used differently, and it depends on the lawyers and the parties. But when I'm asked that question, I almost also explain it too, like mediation is one afternoon, one day, one meeting that you're going to, whereas the collaborative law process or the collaborative law practice involves a process that maybe it includes mediation at one point, but it's from the whole process from the beginning of the conflict to the resolution. It may involve several meetings. It may involve, like you said, bringing in other professionals. It may be involved in bringing a mediation at one point, but it's not just an isolated meeting.
Involves listening, involves like being respectful, involves being humble, to be like open. You have to bring everything to the table. You have to be compassionate, sensible, being truly to yourself, telling what you really want. But also know that sometimes you have to resign for some stuff in order to get for a peaceful solution that will keep being sustained during the time. It's just not getting a solution and that's it. You have to try to keep that solution over time. You have to be possible to implement it to your daily life. But I think that's the big difference. That's why the process is so important in collaborative practice.
In Argentina or in your organization, are there people who use collaborative law for business disputes or?
Not in business, but some other colleagues are start to using it in family processes. In Argentina, it's in baby steps right now. We are just starting.
In the US, I would say it's primarily in family law, but it's expanding out into like probate law. Some people have used it for medical malpractice. Some people have used it for business disputes as well. But I would say the majority of it is still family law practice in the US. But even if so, you've been trained in collaborative law? Did you take a collaborative law training?
Yes, in Spain with Carmen Ajarriz.
So you're collaboratively trained and you are an organizer of a collaborative law organization and you practice corporate law in the health industry. So do you use collaborative law or any of your collaborative training in your day-to-day stuff, even if it doesn't involve the whole process or practice?
Depends on the situation, but I try to implement the principles. I try to be friendly. I try to be compassionate. I try to be open-minded. I try to bring everything to the table when I have to sit down. I try to use a lot of active listening. I try to use negotiation skills. I try to think solutions we can implement, for example, in contracts before getting into court, like making design of the contracts. I think that's the way I try to implement collaborative practice in my daily work.
Using the full extent of the collaborative law practice, the principles of collaborative law carry over in any industry, I think, or any sector, any practice area.
The thing is that, well, at least in Argentina, we are still far behind. We still have a big community of adversarial lawyers. So I think it's gonna be a long way yet to see the results of collaborative in the business field and also in family too. They are just starting to talk about collaborative practice in law, in family law. I have some colleagues that they are doing it, but they are very, very few right now. But someone that starts, it's a way of starting and trying to be agent of change in your little circle of influence. Well, that will expand. It's in the end will keep on moving forward. So I think someday, maybe when I get old, I'd see a difference here.
I love seeing how ideas travel around the world, right? Or how movements travel around the world. And this started, in the US with Stu Webb and it's now all over the world. And for you, it started with having a cup of coffee with a friend and just talking about, hey, what's new and good or what's interesting. And this comes up and you're interested in it. You read more about it. You find other people and you seek them out. You send, okay, who else may know about this? And you send emails and you learn more and you write and you connect. And to me, it just shows the importance of our human connection, having those cups of coffee, following up with people, reaching out to someone who you may not know personally, but you admire what they're doing. Send an email and see what happens.
Well, that's the way. I think that's the way. Maybe well, at least sometimes happens to me. You expect to be a big change. You expect a big change or being super recognized and being like a super peacemaker. And sometimes you have to start from the small little things, and that's the way of making changes and multiplying good stuff around you, and see that will come out with positive things.
Can you say the name of the collaborative law organization?
Organización Latinoamericana de Derecho Colaborativo.
And if anyone wants to find out more information, where can they go?
We got a LinkedIn, we got a Facebook, we got Instagram, and the webpage is under developing. So through those social media channels, they can connect us.
So you have LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And I'll find those links and put them in the show notes so that if anyone's interested in them, go to our show notes, click on the links, and then you can find it. Anything that you would like to say that we haven't talked about yet?
Last, I want to say that we have to be truly to ourselves. We have to think of making positive influence to our friends, to our colleagues, and being aware of new paradigms. Now that we are getting old, being aware of these new paradigms will make a change for the future society.
At Integrative Lawyers of the World, we believe that there's a way to practice law that honors our interconnectedness, that values bravery, courage, honesty, really understands that we are all interconnected. What does integrative law or being an integrative lawyer mean to you?
Being just one person in my personal life and in my professional life, a key player for peacemaker of society, showing a new way of advocacy. I think that's being an integrative lawyer.
Thank you. We're so glad that you are an integrative lawyer and that you are sharing your story in your legal journey with us and with the world. Thank you so much for being part of Integrative Lawyers of the World.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.